So, I would like to start by talking about national news and national issues.
Okay.
So the first question I prepared for you is President Trump has said he wants the Department of Education to close immediately, but he needs Congress to do it.
Right.
Would you vote in favor of this? Why or why not?
No, listen, let me just say this, and I'm very serious about this. I'm the daughter of an immigrant family. Could really only dare dream that their daughter would serve in the United States House of Representatives. My mother used to work in the old sweatshops in New Haven, but she used to have me go there after school to meet her. And she did it for a reason. She wanted me to see the conditions with women with their hunched over their sewing machines, etc. There was dark, dingy, dirty, loud with the noise of the machines, etc. And she would say to me, Rosa, get an education so that you don't have to do this, okay? And my folks worked very hard, as parents do, to get their kids an education. And education is part of what the American dream is all about. Yeah. It is about opportunity. It's about making sure that you can realize your dreams, your aspirations. Same with your classmates. Why would we take the agency that is devoted, particularly to public education? Yeah. 90% of our children today are in public schools. So why would we be taking the ability, through Title I, we would lose, if they do what they want to do, we would, about 72,000 teachers nationwide, 1,900 for the state of Connecticut. The president has talked about English as being the national language. On the other hand, you have almost 46,000 kids in Connecticut who are English learners they would eliminate that program. Head Start, financial aid, down the list. So I'm absolutely opposed, and I'm going to fight back on making sure we provide educational opportunities for our kids.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Both of us believe in an assault weapons ban. What have you done or do you plan to do to help this happen?
I've been working on this for a very, very long time. And I would ban assault weapons. I would ban high-capacity magazines. I deal with background checks. I'm working very closely with Kristen and Michael Song. They lost their son, Ethan. He went to visit a friend. The gun was in the house, unsecured, and he wound up dying. So I'm strong on securing guns. We passed, the Songs got the bill passed in the Connecticut legislature. They've been working in Washington. We passed it in the House of Representatives, but could not pass it in the Senate. I'll keep working at that. But we need to deal with preventing violence. And I honestly, after 20 years, the Congress was prohibited from doing research on gun violence prevention. I was in the law. I got that reversed a number of years ago and have put in substantial amount of money to deal with gun violence prevention research of how we did, like they did with seatbelts. Research seatbelts found that if you had seatbelts, you could save lives. And that's what we need to do here. It's going to be under attack again in this budget, but we'll fight back.
We will. When I grow up, I want to be in Congress,
Yay!
like you. One thing that I want to fight for is paid maternity leave. Would you also support something such as this?
Oh, I'm the author of the Paid Family and Medical Leave Bill. Amen. Let's go. And equal pay for equal work. Men and women in the same job deserve the same pay. But yes, I believe, first of all, use it to my ears that you're interested in running for office. It's wonderful. People often ask me, does this job meet your expectations? And I would just say to you that even on the most difficult days, the job exceeds my expectations. It's a place where what it's about is advocacy on behalf of people and opening up and using the federal government, making government work for people. That's what it's about. Wow.
Since taking office, the president has signed many executive orders that some people believe are illegal. What can Congress do to stand up for him?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. Congress is standing up, but please understand that for Democrats, we are in the minority in the Congress. Yeah. We cannot file suit directly. The way that would have to happen is as if the Speaker of the House, which is not going to happen, brought a suit against us. But what we are doing, we're working with the organizations that are filing suit. We're providing them with information, working closely with them, and we've done well in the courts We've got a number of victories in the courts. But the other thing that we're doing is we're filing what's called an amicus brief, a friend of the court on different issues. So we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to educate our constituents on what these cuts mean to them. And so we're fighting back in a number of different ways.
Okay, that's amazing. So now we're going to move into the next segment, which is Connecticut news and issues.
Okay.
So Connecticut faces significant challenges related to climate change, such as flooding, rising sea levels, and extreme weather events. How do you plan to address climate changes at the federal level, and what specific policies do you support to help Connecticut prepare for these challenges?
Again, a good question. You know, we have a lot of climate deniers, you know, and so strong supporter of the ways in which we then deal with climate change, how we deal with sustainability, what we do with solar, with wind, coastal, you know, again, resiliency. So I've been very, very, very much a part of looking at how we can, how the Congress can act on behalf of climate. Now, we did this in the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah.
It was the largest amount of money in history for dealing with the issues coming from climate change. You know, we've had flooding. I was just with Willie DeLauro, whose farm was wiped out when we had that hailstorm. And so how do we help those farmers be able to, you know, see, get their money recovered? But again, with your, it's about preventing some of these things from happening. That's where we have to focus, and I have been deeply involved in that effort.
That's amazing. How can the federal government help revitalize manufacturing in Connecticut and support job creation in the state, especially in cities like Bridgeport, New Haven?
Yeah, well, you know, Connecticut is a manufacturing state. It is a manufacturing state. And we used to be called the arsenal of the republic because we've got so much of the defense industry here. You know, I'm very supportive of what we have, these advanced manufacturing programs where we work with the high schools that help kids. Some kids don't want to go to a 4-year college, and that's fine. But how do we help them realize those dreams? And you have advanced manufacturing classes which train young people to go into manufacturing. The other is our registered apprenticeship programs to have people, you know, go to school, but also have the opportunity to work in manufacturing. At Sikorsky, they have a wonderful program, and it's for juniors and seniors. It's a 2-year program, and young people, and this is Bridgeport, they come from Bridgeport, New Haven, and other towns, and they get to work on building helicopters and working with people who are building helicopters. And I'll never forget the young man I met. This was his 2nd year, and he said to me, Rosa, the first year I was providing the supplies and the parts to the people on the line, you know, building the helicopters. He said, this year I'm building the helicopter, I'm working at that, and the joy in his face, you know, was, you know, you can't replace that. But it is providing the opportunities to businesses and manufacturing, as well as providing a pathway for people to go into manufacturing.
Okay. My last question about Connecticut is, how can the federal government support Connecticut's efforts to reduce healthcare costs, especially prescription drugs and mental health services?
Yeah. Well, big issue on mental health services. We need to provide the resources to be able to do that. We have to work with the mental health community, etc., and make sure we're dealing with programs that address mental health issues, train personnel in that area. It's one of the biggest problems in the country, and particularly with young people. It's amazing how many young people find themselves in a situation with mental health difficulties. I think in the earlier part of your question, we have to work very, very hard to make sure we can bring down the cost of prescription drugs. There is no need for some of these drugs to be so expensive that people can't get access to them. It's wonderful that we have the science and the biomedical research to get the cures, but then people can't access them. That is a problem. So we have to work to make sure the industry is not price gouging and most helping people to gain access to health care. And we have to provide increased mental health services. one of the biggest issues that the country faces.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Lastly, we're going to move into the last segment of this interview, and my favorite personally, your career in Congress.
Yeah.
So you've won every election since 1990.
Right.
What would you say is the key way to win?
Well, you know, first of all, I love my job. I'm blessed to have this job. As I've said, it's all about advocacy. It's about helping people, you know, have the opportunity to succeed. And that's what government is about, trying to do that. And so I work hard at it every day. I love sitting and talking to you, but love working with people, etc. Teachers, students. Earlier today I met with mayors, the mayors and first selectmen of all the towns, cities and towns in the district. It's about reaching out to the people that you represent and understanding what their lives are about, and then working to try to address the issues that they're facing. These days, it's all about the cost of living. People today live paycheck to paycheck. It's very difficult. Healthcare costs, housing costs. Some can't afford to put food on the table for their families. So I view that it's identifying with people, walk in their shoes, understanding what their lives are about. And I love being with people. I love campaigning. I love, just, the whole process.
Well, I'll definitely keep that in mind when I run.
You're going to run, that's right. It's just, you know what? When I graduated from, when I got my graduate degree, which I did in international politics, and my dad said to me, he said, well, now you're equipped to, to foment a revolution. He said, now you got to go get a job. When I started to get into the political side to me, he said, Rosa, with all of your academic learning and, your background in learning, etc., he said, if you don't identify with people, if on the street, if you don't, he said, you'll never succeed. That's what politics is about, is identifying with the people that you serve, understanding what their lives are about. And it's one of the most rewarding parts of the job, is to engage with people.
What made you interested in politics?
Well, my family. My mom served on the city council in New Haven, the Board of Alders. Longest serving member, not the longest serving woman, longest serving member in the history of the Board of Alders, 35 years. My dad was involved in politics as well. He served briefly on the Board of Alders because at the time I was going to school, etc., and the job was a non-paying job. So he had to get a paying job so they could get me to school. So it was growing up in a household that was deeply, deeply engaged in public policy, politics, and with people. My kitchen table, when I was growing up, was a place where people could come, talk to my family about getting a job, talking about immigration, talk about Social Security, and so forth. So it was the environment in which I, was raised, made me very close to the political process. I didn't think at that time I was going to run for office. That was not like, this is the career goals, etc., like you've got a goal, so forth. But it evolved that way, and I think that's basically is the result of, my own environment and my family.
Yeah. So why do you never run for any other office, such as the U.S. Senate?
I love the House of Representatives. I really do. I believe it's a place where you can get things done. And, you get to know your colleagues, they get to know you, what's important to them, in places, in the middle of the country, like Iowa, Kansas, etc., they get to know what's important to you on the East Coast. And so, and I truly do believe that you can get so much more done in the House of Representatives. I probably shouldn't say this, rather than in the United States Senate. So I love the House. I love the camaraderie and the ability to work together. And you know what? We run for office every 2 years.
Yeah.
Senate runs every 6 years. I believe we are closest to the people because of running every 2 years. It makes a difference.
What would you say is the best part about being in Congress?
I think the engagement with people and understanding what those needs are and looking to translate that into public policy. And the process of doing that as well. Building the coalitions to get, to get where you want to go. You have to do that. I often say this, I don't know about you and your friends. You decide to go to a movie, I don't know, it takes you a good part of the day to figure out what movie you're going to go to. That happens with me and my friends, or where we're going to go to dinner and so forth. Now think about the Congress. In order to pass any piece of legislation, you need 218 votes.
Yeah.
You got people north, south, east, west, different philosophies, different interests, etc. So you've got to, in order to pass a piece of legislation, you've got to bring these people together to get 218 votes, be like-minded, and vote for the bill. So that process of getting that done is very exciting.
What legislative accomplishment are you most proud of?
Well, there are lots of things I really care deeply about in which I've had some real success. I'll get to, one I think is a real highlight. But I love the work that I have done on food safety and nutrition and making sure that we have a safe food supply, but more than that, that we are providing people with, the food that they need to make it affordable, to make it accessible. Strong proponent of the food stamp program and what it does. So I've worked very, very hard, and that includes working with farmers, working with people in the food industry, etc. One to make it plentiful and one to make it safe. I've done a lot of work in trade and making sure that we have trade agreements that honor our workers, that don't put them out of jobs, and keep jobs in the United States. What I single out is the child tax credit. The child tax credit, which I'm the author of, which I worked on since 2003. And you can't give up. It takes a while to get where you want to go. And the child tax credit became part of the American Rescue Plan, which President Biden signed into law. The program lifted almost half of the children in this nation out of poverty. It lowered the hunger rate by almost 25%. It lasted only for a year, but I am committed to getting it on the table for this next go-round when we have the debate about the tax bills, to look at how we extend the child tax credit, which has, as I said, it has been the antidote to the cost of living issue. It's provided families with the opportunity to feed their kids, to be able to go to work, to pay for childcare, to make sure that their kids could have participate in school activities, and so forth. It's been an enormously helpful help to families, to maybe help to pay a mortgage, maybe to deal with health care, prescription drugs. It was a lifesaver for so many families. We got to get it back.
Yeah, we really do. And my last question for you is, as I said, my dream is to be a member of Congress or a U.S. Senator representing Connecticut. What advice would you give somebody like me to achieve this goal?
Well, listen, you're already on your way to doing it. You're engaged, you're involved, you know about what the issues are. You need to do that, and you don't be risk averse. Take a chance. When I ran for this office, I never had run for an office before. Not mayor, not in the House, not in Hartford, never ran. I helped a lot of people get elected, but I never ran before. And it was a learning curve. But it was jumping into the deep end of the pool. Do not be risk averse. Stay involved in your community, understand the issues, whatever interests you. So many people get to these jobs about what a particular issue that they deeply care about, whether it's the environment or education or gun safety, something that propels you to want to help to make the change here. That's the kind of, and look for organizations where you can help out in that context, and look for where you can help out in campaigns. Get that kind of an experience as well. Get both the political and the policy experience.
Okay.
You'll do it. You're going to do it.
Thank you. That's amazing.
Okay.
Thank you so much for
Well,
making time for this.
Listen, no, thank you. I'm so excited that you're interested in doing this and that you're engaged and want to run for office. You know, some people, especially young people, are discouraged. You can't get discouraged. You can make a difference. You just have to engage and be there. You can't just sit on the sidelines and wring your hands and say, oh God, isn't this terrible? Isn't this terrible? Just go to it and you will. You'll be successful. I don't know if I'll be around, you know, for your campaign, but if I am, I'm there, okay? Help you in any way I can, all right? Okay.
Thank you
Great.
so much.
And if there's anything you'd like to do or that you're interested in, you know, let me know of how I can be of help, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Let me shake that hand. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.